Well, welcome back. Shortly after the attacks on 9/11, government leaders and experts gathered at Harvard University to form the National Preparedness Leadership Initiative to study and train first responders across the country in how to be prepared for the worst-case scenario.
And some of the people behind that initiative join us now to talk about their new book, You're It: Crisis, Change, and How to Lead When It Matters Most. Eric McNulty and Barry Dorn, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.
You have studied all kinds of crises during your careers. Katrina, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig explosion, 9/11, swine flu outbreak, and the Boston Marathon bombings. You studied the response there. And you say in this book that the responses to the bombings, quote, portrayed an extraordinary series of triumphs. What specifically went well with the response to the marathon bombings?
Well, what went well in a sort of a nutshell was everyone could work together. But there was a reason for that. When we studied the responses to the people who were involved in the bombing, they all had this cohesive effort to solve the problem together. There was no one actually was really in charge. If you think about it, it happened in Boston, so the Mayor Menino was in charge. It happened in the state of Massachusetts, so the governor was in charge. It was a federalized crime once Obama. So there was a lot of people who could have easily tried to take charge of this and take over. And we spent a good hour to 3 hours interviewing each of the people afterwards. And it was really interesting. The head of the FBI at the time said, we asked him about whether they should leave the trains open or closed, because they had to get the people out of the city, but they didn't want the bad guys to get out. So he said, well, I don't know. They didn't ask me. Well, we said, you were in charge, because he had been appointed chief investigator. He said, no, I wasn't in charge of trains. I was in charge of the investigation. So they easily passed the ball to each other.
They stayed in their lanes.
They stayed in their lanes, and they respected each other.
I also think, too, about the everyday people right there on Boylston Street who all ran forward to tie tourniquets or do whatever they could, whatever they knew, that really just average, everyday people kind of leapt in.
And that's changed. The swarm leadership, that this is swarm leadership was one of the responses to the bombings. What do you mean by swarm leadership?
So when we talk about swarm leadership, we looked at, as Barry mentioned, people worked really well together, and why was that? And our search took us to this notion of swarm intelligence, which is how non-human species like bees and termites and ants create complex social outcomes. And we looked at that and said, how do you apply that thinking to humans? And we saw that there actually were 5 principles of the way people behaved when we looked at all the interviews. There was unity of mission. There was generosity of spirit and action. People were helping each other, as Paula said, bystanders jumping in. People stayed in their lanes. Even though no one was in charge, Boston police, state police, everyone did their job and did it well. No ego, no blame, which is tough and a lot of pressure. Nobody stood up and said, we did it right and we're blaming you. No, they did it together, and then finally a foundation of trust-based relationships. They had built them over more than a decade of working together, training together here in the city.
You encourage leaders to keep a journal of their experiences, the challenges that they faced, and the victories. And we should say, with this book, you feel this can apply not just to law enforcement leaders or government leaders, but business leaders, all of this. What do you mean by keeping a journal? How would that work? Is it every day? What do you encourage?
It is, I mean, every day if you can do it, or at least 3 or 4 times a week, just take a few minutes to reflect. I mean, really, the way you learn, one of the ways you learn is by reflecting on your experiences and stopping to write them down. We really encourage it with pen or pencil on paper. Don't type it, because your brain processes things a little bit differently. But it gives you a moment to think, when did things go really well today? Or what could have gone better? Or, gee, I smiled when Paula came in and brought donuts. You know, whatever, just little, even stupid little things like that. It helps you put a frame around what you're doing, and you'll learn about yourself, which is the first key to being an effective leader.
It would be nice if you brought in donuts more often.
I will work on getting you to smile tomorrow by doing that.
Thank you.
Can we talk about the title for a moment? Because I think this is a fascinating analogy, because you were talking about how the brain switches from this childhood game of tag that we're all used to. How is it that you looked at it and came up with the title?
Well, think about when you were a child before the children came along, Paula, and you were a child running around playing tag. When you're not it, you're trying to get away from the person who's going to tag you. So your strategy is very much is focused on that. As soon as you touch you, okay, and you become it, you shift to the lower level of your brain and you start to try and assimilate as much as you can, so you're actually reversing your thought processes completely.
The 4th of July celebration is coming up, always concerns about safety on the Esplanade. What should leaders be doing right now to prepare for the 4th of July? If you could talk to a local law enforcement leader, what would you be doing?
Well, they're doing it, and I did speak to one yesterday.
Okay, good.
Major Rick Vault, the state police, who is the person who is in charge, and they plan pretty much for a full year. I mean, the after-action review happens in late July, and they just start going again. But what they are doing is gathering all the intelligence they can, seeing if there are any threats, and so far, nothing. I think it's safe to share. But then again, working those relationships, because you have troopers here from all 5 New England states. You've got Boston Police, you have 20 public safety agencies working, more than 700 officers in uniform, out of uniform. And what they're trying to do is keep people safe, but keep it a happy, enjoyable time.
Well, the book is called You're It. Eric McNulty, Barry Dorn, thank you so much for coming in to talk with us about leadership. It's always fascinating.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you very much.